Now, next up, it is my pleasure to invite Dr. Yuan Yu, President of IEEE Standards Association, to share on empowering global AI collaboration towards AI for good. Let's put our hands together and welcome him on stage.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So it's my great pleasure to be here and share with you some of our thoughts about AI, especially so-called global AI collaboration, and also some of our efforts in AI-related standards. So let's start with some of our observations. First of all, I'd like to share with you that we believe AI is driving digitalization, or you can call that digital transformation. So looking at the history or looking at the different stages of digitalization, we can say that the digitalization 1.0 started from automation, which was along with the invention of computers. And then digitalization 2.0 was the interconnection. Basically, it was along with the rise of the internet, from desktop internet to mobile internet and the Internet of Things. And the digitalization 3.0 was in conjunction with the so-called Web 2.0, which was the mobile, massive user-generated content and personalized recommendations. We call that personalization. And we are currently in the middle of digitalization 4.0. We call that intelligentization, which is about AI. Using AI on everything, and we see more and more AI-generated content, AI-generated services towards the so-called AGI, artificial general intelligence. And the next phase probably could be the metaverse. So that's something we can talk about later. But the key point here is that we are currently between two stages of digitalization: the already exploding intelligentization, in other words, the stage of AI, and the upcoming, we call that metaverse or realitization. So AI is actually currently the most important driving force for digitalization. So in terms of the global impact, we have several observations. Number one, labor market. AI is actually driving a labor market transformation all over the world. This is quite interesting, but probably this is one of the most important taking away for you this afternoon. So currently, the distribution of human beings' skill level on any specific skill, just name it, it's like on the left, it's like a pyramid, which means 20% or 25% of people, their skill level is above average. So they can call themselves professionals. They can call themselves, they can perform that skill as a job, so they can make money, make a living from doing so. Other guys whose skill level is below average, so they are so-called amateurs. So they cannot perform in that skill as a job, because if your skill level is below the average, who will pay you for doing so? So with generative AI, I would say, a very important change is that generative AI is generally significantly improve the skill level of anybody in any, let's say, specific skill, which means the current skill level distribution is like on the picture on the right, like a platoon, which looks like a good thing, right? So everybody, well, mostly we have a higher skill level, but please also notice that the average is also significantly increased, which means only a few people, like 1% or 2% of people, their skill level is still above average. They can still call themselves professionals. So they can still they can still make a living by performing that skill. But the majority or the super majority of the human beings, their skill level are now below or equal to the average, which means they are now amateurs. They cannot do that as a job. So which means they will either have to look for new job opportunities, or we should provide new services and facilities to accommodate their fewer working hours and more leisure time, which is a challenge to the global market. This is already happening, and I believe this is inevitable. So this is one of the global impact of AI. Another one, I would say, digital economy. So along with the rise of generative AI, we believe generative AI will, more generally, AI will force the physical economy to shift towards the digital economy, which means the percentage of digital economy will get higher and higher in the entire, I would say, composition of the economy. And also another trend is that a massive amount of native digital assets will be created with generative AI, which means they will also drive the demand for like ownership and transactions in the form of NFT, which is another hot topic in terms of like a Web3 economy, things like that. So that is another trend we are observing thanks to the rise of AI. The third one, I call that decentralization. So I created two pictures. One shows several people, they are trying to dig a trench. And another picture shows that one person can use some vehicle to dig a trench, which means that generative AI has lowered the barriers to production. So previously, when we talk about the production, there are so many tasks or so many projects. We have to form a company or have to form a team with a group of people to perform, to get the job done. But now, with generative AI, tasks that typically require a group of people to form a company to do so can now be done by a single person, which means that there will be a transformation of production relations towards decentralization. But when we talk about the decentralization, we are actually talking about several different levels. So what are we talking about? Decentralization could be decentralized structure, decentralization could be decentralized operations, decentralized governance, or decentralized ownership, or decentralized rights. So those are different levels of decentralization we need to address. Otherwise, if we only say, okay, we just put some efforts on a decentralized infrastructure like a blockchain, we may end up with many scandals if the governance or the operations are not decentralized. And lastly, another topic is global impact is about risks. So actually, this picture I created this morning, trying to reflect the concept that lots of risks are associated with the rise of AI. So here I want to make a point, which is typically, I think it's a very common confusion. So many people, when we are talking about the risks of AI, they are thinking of if AI has consciousness, if some dystopian future, like Terminator, things like that, Skynet. But that is not necessarily true. So whether or not AI will have consciousness is one topic, which may take another maybe 5 or 10 years or even longer for us to have a definitive answer. But if AI can be dangerous or not, that's another topic. That is very, very realistic. That is very, I would say, upcoming. Think about, for example, we have other tools like a knife, like a gun, well, let's say a weapon, a hardware. A knife or a hardware definitely does not have consciousness, but it could also be dangerous if we do not use that appropriately. So which means I'd like to make a point that whether or not AI has consciousness is something in the future, sounds like more science fiction, but whether AI can be dangerous or not, that is a very practical issue we need to address now. So with that being said, let me explain, because my role currently is the president of IEEE Standards Association. Let me explain to you what's the role of standards development we are addressing. We are actually expanding the scope of standards development. So here we have 3 dimensions. Traditionally, we call standards market-driven efforts, which means we only develop standards when a particular technology or market is mature enough, and we see demands from the market saying, hey, we need some standards to help us improve something. But now, along with the rise of emerging technologies such as AI, such as metaverse, such as Web3, we see more and more examples that we will need the so-called market-driving standards, which means standards will be needed even before a particular technology or particular market becomes mature enough. For example, one of my very favorite examples, unfortunately, it's not an IEEE one, is autonomous driving industry. So in the autonomous driving industry, everybody has been using the SAE G3016 standard, saying, hey, your company is developing a level 4 autonomous driving, and my company just delivered a level 3 autonomous driving, which is a very perfect example that before a specific technology, in this case, autonomous driving, becomes mature enough, we will need some standards to set the expectations, set the roadmaps, set the common ground for discussion for the industry. So the entire industry will benefit from that. So I believe in other areas, especially emerging technology like AI and metaverse and Web3, those kind of things, we will also need more and more market driving standards to set up the right expectations, the roadmaps, terminology, taxonomy, and also some ethically aligned design, things like that. I will mention that later. Another dimension is about the technical and non-technical. So traditionally, most of standards are technical standards, but we see more and more examples of addressing ethical or other non-technical issues with standards as well. The third dimension is about pre-standardization versus post-standardization. So the efforts of standardization is expanding. So like we need diverse efforts before we start developing a standard. Maybe it's like sometimes you call that a study group, sometimes you call that an alliance or whatever. You work together to produce a white paper or just have some working groups to having some constructive discussions. And after a standard is released, you will do more and more conformity assessment and certification and other things to facilitate the adoption of the standard. So those are, we call that the pre and post standardization efforts. And in terms of AI, if we look at the AI ecosystem or the AI big picture for standardization, we will see there are actually, fundamentally, we need a terminology, definitions, and taxonomy. For example, we are talking about something intelligent or something smart. We need to define what is smart, what is intelligence, right? So in terms of AI, many people are talking about, let's say, embodied AI. What is embodied AI? People talk about artificial general intelligence, AGI. So what is AGI? We need definitions first. And then on top of that, we have at least 3 different pillars to address. Traditionally, these are technologies we need to develop standards for, like interoperability, interfaces, formats, like functions, performance, safety, security, I would say privacy and identity, just to name a few. And another pillar is social implications. So we see more and more concerns about, we call that responsible AI or AI for good or responsible whatever. Those kind of things reflect people's concerns about if those new technologies are bringing us to a dystopian future or how we can make sure we are facing a bright future. So we need to address the social implications of those technologies as well from several aspects like ethics, like ESG or SDG. And the third pillar is about content. Especially this is very relevant today because we see more and more so-called AIGC, AI-generated content. So in terms of content, we also need standards to regulate them, to specify them from different perspectives, like the different ratings, different descriptors, and so on. And above all the 3 pillars, we say technologies like AI, they will have profound impact on everything in every vertical industry. So we will see lots of applications in different vertical industries or niche markets. We can expect that we will need standards for those applications as well. So that is the overall standardization and the ecosystem for AI. Let me briefly give you an update about what IEEE has been doing in terms of AI standardization. So we have developed the so-called ethically aligned design. Well, I think it's from many years ago, and this is a very popular outcome, if I can put it this way, of IEEE. So this has been adopted by many organizations and many big companies. Like it has been used by OECD, by IBM, by 2 United Nations organizations, and several other major companies. And we have the programs around the so-called autonomous and intelligent systems. We have standards, the IEEE 7000 series and the certification, and also related to education and learning. Especially in terms of the impact, this EAD, as I mentioned before, ethically aligned design, has been generating lots of impact in many vertical industries. And I just listed a few standards in the IEEE 7000 series. So you can just search on Google afterwards, find that we are addressing AI-related ethics in different scenarios and different vertical applications. And this is an example of the IEEE 7000 2021, which means this is a standard released in 2021. So it's a very values-oriented and metrics-driven technology. At the outset of design, you can see that we are addressing like transparency management process and so-called, we call that concrete processes with activities, tasks, and outcomes that ensure an ethically aligned design. So this is a very popular standard already. And we have some ongoing projects like the 3119, addressing so-called procurement of artificial intelligence. And we have a bunch of other technical standards and projects around AI, related to AI. And again, this is an expansion of our ethically aligned design work. We are now also addressing the ethics of extended reality. And the certified, this is something we are promoting in many countries, many regions, which is about, we provide a program for people to certify their AI systems. And after you pass the certification, you can put a mark on your product or your services. And this is some new efforts. We call that industrial AI, which is basically an intersection of industrial automation and AI. And lastly, I'd like to briefly show you, this is a sort of our portfolio of centers of competence, addressing different verticals like healthcare, mobility, energy, foundational technologies, telco, and some new frontiers. And we are actually trying to develop standards and create a social impact on ethically aligned design systems, data governance, fairness in the trade of data, child online rights. This is something also very famous. The number is IEEE 2089. The purpose is to protect the children's rights in the digital era. And of course, digital intelligence, dignity and agency in identity, and clean and sustainable energy, and connectivity and mobility. All of those are related to AI as well. So lastly, I'd like to show you, well, this is my last slide. So I put my contact information on the screen, and I look forward to working with you to drive the global AI collaboration toward AI for good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yuan Yu, on your sharing on how we can empower global AI collaboration through AI standards and ecosystem development. From the global perspective,